Welcome back, everybody. It is Manchester Derby weekend here at United versus everybody, and we are here to preview that match. I am your host, Sean. You are the UVE community. Are you guys tired of me yet? I know I dropped another video earlier. I said I would. I said I would drop something sometime soon here. But if you didn't see yet, episode 2 of What If dropped earlier this morning. For you guys can go check that out. I like those because they're short, right? They're like it's like a little snack. It's like 15 minutes, bing, bam, boom, you get it done. But yeah, episode 2 dropped where we explored what if United had signed Sir Alex Ferguson's first choice in the summer of 2003, which was Ronaldinho, instead of signing young Cristiano Ronaldo, and how things would have looked. Where would Ronaldo have gone? Where would Ronaldinho have played? What might things have gone differently that year? Go check that one out. Always fun. I know Justin's was big interested in that one. Justin and I really started, I think, really watching as Americans, really watching, really having access to football and United right around the time, we signed that Ronaldinho was coming through, like late 90s, early 2000s was when the US really started to get access. So we'll know those guys very well. Obviously, I do like Ronaldinho. I don't know where he is these days, but go check out that episode out if you want to. It was fun to do. I've got more coming soon, so keep a lookout for those. But yes, back to Derby. It is Derby weekend. After his brilliant Derby debut victory over Pep, just right around Christmas time, you guys remember that, Ruben Amorim will be hoping to make it a Derby double over the noisy neighbors on Sunday. Both sides are kind of wrestling with their own unique personal demons this season. City are struggling overall. We are struggling in a lot of ways. So this one could go either way, but we're going to preview that today. We're going to talk a little bit of team news. We're going to talk tactics, and we're going to look at some United related news and rumors to kick things off. So let's get stuck in. Hit that like button for me. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the memberships to learn how you can get involved in the content in more ways than one. Keep a lookout for some merch dropping soon if you guys want to get involved with that. And don't be afraid to share the videos and make sure you hit that notification bell as well to make sure you don't miss out on anything. So start things off. Big up Bruno Fernandes, our Portuguese Magnifico. He did win the Premier League Player of the Month for March. Now, March was a little interesting. I think only like 2 league matches were played, but I think Bruno had like 2 goals, 2 assists in that time period. So big up Bruno. That makes it now the 5th time that Bruno has won this award since he joined United, which puts him up in some pretty good company, if I had to say so myself. I think so. Like Wayne Rooney's got the 5 times, Harry Kane, Steven Gerrard, man, and Sergio Aguero. But that puts him, he's got 2 more than Ruud van Nistelrooy. He's got 1 more than Paul Scholes now, and then he's just 1 shy of Cristiano Ronaldo for Player of the Month. So, but apparently Bruno is shit, so what do I know? But big up, Bruno. We love you. Without you, we would be so much worse off this season. Your goals, your assists, just I can't imagine. I don't even want to imagine. Maybe that could be a what if episode. What if Bruno had not signed for us? In any case, we don't want to think about that. But big up Bruno for winning PL Player of the Month. Moving on to some transfer news. So, according to Rudy Galletti, United have made Victor Osimhen their number 1 transfer target this summer. Apparently, we are the most interested Premier League club for Osimhen's signature. Now, remember, this is coming off the back yesterday from I can't remember now who was it. Was it David Ornstein or Laurie Whitwell? One of the two was basically kind of saying that there was a consensus among interested clubs that Victor Osimhen would probably be going to the Saudi League in the summer. So it's always difficult. You've got one pretty well-known journal saying one thing and a couple other ones saying another thing. You never know. But again, I don't write it. I just read it, and I want to get your guys' reactions to it. But would you guys take Osimhen? Do you like Osimhen? I know a ton of you are all over Osimhen. You want him. I think he's a great player. It's just those wages that kind of give me a bit of pause, but I can get over that. But again, I worry what the long-term implications of a big high earner coming to the club right now would be amidst this rebuild, amidst the kind of transformation that we know Ruben Amorim wants from his dressing room. He doesn't like these kind of big personalities. I'm not saying he can't manage egos, but he doesn't have time for players who are not on board. And a lot of these high earners, low performers are not what we need. I'm not saying Osimhen is a low performer, but it could send a ripple effect through the dressing room when it comes to wages, because he's on some pretty high wages right now. So I think there are other options out there that I think would suit us better. For me right now, toss a coin, Gyökeres or Jonathan David for me in terms of striker. Both are excellent. One has done it in England. One is a free agent. It really comes down to me what you prioritize. But you guys let me know. Moving on, we got a new center back linked with us today as well. So this is coming from Ekrem Konar. Remember the guy who was very, very heavily involved in a lot of transfer news in January. But he reports that United scouts have been following Fiorentina center back Pietro Camuzzo. I don't know how, I'm not Italian, so any Italians out there could let me know if I butchered that or not. But apparently we've been watching this kid for a while. And we are maybe considering bringing him into the club as a long-term solution. Now, he would make like the third like 20 or younger center back we've signed in the last 6 months. Probably Euro, Aiden Heaven, and now this guy, because he's 20 years old. He just turned 22 like February. Right-footed defender, so not really filling in for Licha on that left-hand side, but we'll see. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend I know much about him. Maybe it's worth looking at a scouting report in the future, but this is coming from Ekrem Konar, who is basically all over the Victor Osimhen reports throughout January, if you guys remember him. But reportedly, Fiorentina turned down a 35 million euro offer from Napoli. What is that, like 27 million pounds? I don't know off the top of my head. Fiorentina are probably going to want between 40 45 million euros, so about 35 37 million euros ish. I don't know. So if anybody does watch Serie A, if anybody does pay attention to Fiorentina, let me know. The last defender I remember coming from Fiorentina to the Premier League was Nikola Milenkovic, who is now at Forest and doing very, very well this season. But we'll see. Italians, sometimes we have seen some Italian players struggle to come into the Premier League. Darmian, to me, never really pulled up trees. Calafiore, I mean, up and down. But who knows? This kid could be the exception if these rumors are true. Rob, how are you doing? Evening, United fans. Good to see you, Rob. Osimhen must be one of the two big signings that Amorim said about earlier. Yeah, I did watch the presser. I think a lot of people were focusing on the big signings, but then they're kind of forgetting that what Amorim said after that. And he said, well, what you guys think is big, it may not be the same as what I think is big. So I think what Amorim means there is, by big, is important, not necessarily big names, but important players for what he's looking for. So I think that big refers here more to impact for his system rather than just big name, because this is Ineos, this isn't the Glazers. If this were 5 years ago, yeah, I think you'd see some stupid money being thrown around for a De Jong and like an Osimhen or something, and that would probably be it for the summer. But I don't think, again, people look at what Amorim said after that. Big might not necessarily mean what we think it might be, but we'll see. Osimhen, I think, would tick a lot of boxes for a lot of fans. I think he would tick boxes in terms of just we need someone who can score goals, but he would be expensive and his wages would be pretty high. So let's see what happens. Rob says no Vinny Jr. No, unfortunately, no. Sorry for anyone looking for Vinny Jr., but I don't think he'll be leaving. It's so interesting to me, like when these young players go to Real Madrid, like where do you go from there? At that point, you just got to be bored. I mean, but fair play to any player who can regularly get into the starting 11 at Real Madrid. I mean, you're easily better than the starting 11 in your position in a lot of other big clubs in football. Like that's impressive. So yeah, and I don't think we're getting Vinny Jr. anything. I'd love to get Rodrigo. Rodrigo would have been great. I don't know if he would do this very well in this system, but they do have a lot of 10s. I know some people hate on like Brahim Diaz. I think Brahim Diaz is very good. I wouldn't mind maybe putting in a cheeky bid for Guler for one of these number 10 roles as well. Maybe trying to take advantage of his lack of game time. We'll see, though. There was another young midfielder who got to Madrid very early and kind of jumped around for a bit, and now he's doing pretty decently at Arsenal. So who knows? But I've never heard of this Pietro Camuzzo defender. So again, if anyone watches Serie A, let me know. Is he a baller? Is he not? He's still very young, just turned 20 like a month ago. So, um, did you guys see some of this hilarious stuff with Jose Mourinho the other day following I think it was a Turkish Super Cup. So it was Galatasaray playing Fenerbahce. Galatasaray won, but Mourinho after the match he grabbed the Galatasaray manager's nose for some reason. And I don't understand what happened. Like the guy obviously made a meal of it like he was James Madison or something and immediately dropped to the ground. But I was like, what? It was like Mourinho reached a new level of his Mourinho-ness. Usually we know Mourinho is a bit of a shithouse. We know he's a bit of a whiny little bitch sometimes. And we know he's definitely got some narcissistic traits. But walking up to someone and hawking their nose like you're playing with your sister's 2-year-old son and you're like stealing his nose or something. It's so weird. It's just weird. I read too that he could face like a 10-match ban after this. Like that's insane. I think he's already been banned once this season too, Mourinho. So I just feel like at this point Mourinho is just trolling. Like it's his world and we're all just kind of living in it. I think he just doesn't care about getting fired anymore. I can't stand the guy, but you can't deny that he's comedy gold these days. I think personally the United job sort of ruined him a little bit. I think personally the way that all went down with the player power and everything, I think that really kind of disillusioned Mourinho to football. I think he's just not happy with the way football is now, and I think he just doesn't care anymore. But he keeps getting jobs, so like I said, professional severance collector Mourinho. He's not a football manager, so. And then before we dive into the match, the big news going into the Derby, which could go either way for us, is that I don't know if you guys saw it, but Kevin De Bruyne did announce today that he is going to be leaving Man City this summer. So he will be gone this summer. It's probably a couple years too late, to be honest, for De Bruyne. I think he probably should have maybe looked to leave a little bit ago. But you can't deny that Ginger Bastard is absolute class. He was good at Wolfsburg. Mourinho really let that guy slip through his fingers at Chelsea. We know that there was some iffy situation going on with his move to City. I don't know if you guys know about that. Reportedly, he was actually going to go to Bayern when Pep was at Bayern, but the rumor is that he was given a heads up that Pep would be going to City, and so he went to City a year before that so that he would be there when Pep arrived, basically. So interesting stuff, but you still can't deny his class. I mean, he's nowhere near a certain other redheaded midfielder, but he's still class. So could be interesting. Maybe he's got a point to prove. Maybe he'll be up for it, or who knows. But yes, De Bruyne did announce that he will be retiring. RSV, big up, man. How are you doing? He says, I do got to give respect to De Bruyne. Yeah, De Bruyne is class. Injuries kind of hurt him recently, but when he plays, he tends to be pretty good. So, but yeah, big up RSV. Rob says, Jose is class for winding fellow managers up. The classic you were lucky to clap at the end of the match. I mean, Jose, to be fair, sometimes he could take it as well. Like I remember when he was a United manager and we were losing to Chelsea and some Chelsea coach like ran by and Mourinho got up like he was going to fight the guy. Mourinho, like I said, he's comedy gold. Like when Ollie rubbed his head after we beat Spurs a couple years ago, that was awesome. I love that moment. RSV says, even as a rival, his playing style was so unique to watch. Yeah, and it's funny because he used to play a little more of a wide position at Wolfsburg as well. But yeah, he's a good player. Rob says Kev has been class. Wonder where he ends up. Yeah, it's interesting. What is he like, 32, 33? I don't know how old he is now off the top of my head. Interesting. We'll see where he might go next. Anywhere. He could go a lot of places. Maybe he goes and gets the bag in the Saudi League. Maybe he just says, I'm done. Maybe I'll just hang up my boots. I mean, he doesn't really have to do anything else, really. So what else is there for him to do? Maybe go win a legit trophy someplace else outside of City where there's not an asterisk following him around. But RSV says, yeah, but ballers do tend to peak earlier than basketball players and even American footballers. Yeah. I don't know anything about basketball, to be honest. I've just never got into basketball. RSV says, I might have to disagree with you on this Scholes Kevin De Bruyne debate as much as I would have loved to say Scholes is better. Scholes doesn't have the individual awards, unfortunately. I mean, Maybe, but I mean, it's a team game, so it is what it is. So there's a lot of players like Harry Kane. How many golden boots did he have? But I mean, I think Harry Kane might give up a golden boot if it meant he would have got a Premier League trophy or a Champions League, something like that. So it is a team game. I don't put much stock in things like the Ballon d'Or and things like that, simply because it just the Ballon d'Or especially tends to be a popularity thing. I only care about the Ballon d'Or when somebody aside from Messi or Ronaldo win. I thought Carvajal got robbed last year, but it is what it is. Even things like clean sheets or like Golden Gloves, I don't really put much stock into because I don't like clean sheets being the determiner for Golden Glove, for instance. So, but I hear you. I understand, individual awards and whatnot. I think it's hard. It's always going to be difficult to compare different generations of footballer, right? Because the game is so different, even compared to like 10 years ago. Remember, that was just 2015, and the game has changed so much since. You almost just can't. You almost have to just compare generations to people within those generations because, like, we talked about the other day, there was that debate going around Salah versus Ronaldo, and like it's just difficult. But I do hold fast to my opinion that if you took that Ronaldo from like '07, '08 and dropped him into the Premier League now, he would do he'd do 100 times better than he did back then. If you took Salah now and put him in the Premier League back then against those defenders, against the different rules and stuff, no VAR and the more protection from the refs and stuff, like the Tarkowski tackle we talked about yesterday, that would be just fine in '08. But nowadays it's looked at as like this dangerous red card. Like that's the kind of difference between what you're playing in 15, 20 years ago versus now. And I don't think Mo Salah could do that. But again, my opinion, no right, no wrong. But I hear you, RSV. It's always going to be one of those things. He says, Scholes, unfortunately, not even once has made it to the UEFA Team of the Year, FIFA World Pro 11, and no PFA, Men's Player of the Year. No, but then Scholesy is another thing because I always look at sometimes the winner of the debate for me is what other players say about you. When you're getting looked at by Italian clubs back then, which Italy was like the top league, and he turned them down, like that's a big deal. When Xavi, who never wants to swap shirts with anybody, wants to swap shirts with you, that's a big deal. When Zidane is singing your praises as a midfielder, in terms of how class you are, that's a big deal. When we got Luka Modric, like Luka Modric literally picked like that's just what it is, man. So again, there's no right or wrong. I hear everyone's opinion, and I think it's just at the end of the day going to come down to subjectivity. But I hear you. Slash is Snake Pit. It has been a minute, my friend. How are you doing? How is life, man? I like that. What is that, like an albino ball python or something? I can't really tell. Scholes played in a time when elite midfielders were everywhere. KDB isn't up against Zidane or everyone close. Yeah, and again, that's a good point too. Do you stick out? When midfielders are a big thing. So it's too difficult to debate, I think, for there to be any sort of right or wrong. But that's the beauty of these kind of things. It's you can both sides have kind of like in their eyes valid arguments and stuff. So it is what it is. I look at trophies, I look at the medals, I look at again like the time that like can you take this De Bruyne and put him into where Scholes played in that era and vice versa, and would they still do the same? It's anyone's guess, but RSV says back then defenders would try to injure Ronaldo back in the day. Solid stats are also inflated because of his penalties. He is the highest penalty kick taker in EPL history. Yeah. Again, I mean, you're going to boil some scouse piss with that, but I am here for it all day long. I don't care. Let's talk about Virgil van Dijk next. We can bash him for a minute. I was doing that earlier on the phone with Justin. Yeah, no, I'm here for it, man. Yeah, these debates, they're great debates. I mean, we could have a whole episode on stuff like this, honestly. Maybe that's something we could do in the future. I just don't know any City fans because how many of them actually exist. But in any case, it could be. I mean, I know a Liverpool fan. Maybe I can have him jump on sometime and we can talk about this whole Salah Ronaldo bullshit. Maybe we can lock Virgil van Dijk and Yap Stam in a room and let him see who walks out, right? Van Dijk would have to take off his Yap Stam pajamas first, and then he can have a conversation. Van Dijk can't chat to him. He just can't. But the Mourinho stuff was hilarious. But let's move on to the match, you guys. Please hit that like button for me if you haven't yet. Please subscribe if you are new. So looking at City first, by their own standards, the standards that City themselves, again, success to me breeds expectation, which raises standards. By their own standards, this season is absolutely a failure for Man City. I still argue that last season was a failure too, considering they won a treble before that and completely failed to get anywhere near it last season. But right now they're fifth. They are a staggering 22 points off of first place, but they are still in contention for a top four place too. And I think Chelsea are like a point ahead of them. In their last five, they've got 3 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss in all competitions. But 2 of those wins were against sides that everybody beats. Well, maybe not Liverpool. They did beat Plymouth. Everybody beats Plymouth. And they did beat Leicester. Leicester just seemed to be a 3-pointer for everybody these days. So take it with a grain of salt. They've simply City have struggled to beat the bigger sides this season. And when they have managed to beat the bigger sides, they haven't really scored a ton of goals. Again, not that we're anywhere near being one of these big sides, right? And we have no room to talk. But again, relatively speaking, City are struggling. They will be without Erling Haaland. He is injured at the moment, which is good for us, right? But Marmoush is in great form. He's been spectacular since he signed for them. So he'll be a threat. They're still going to be without Akanji, Stones, Ake, and no Rodri, of course. But they did rest a lot of players against Leicester. So no Kushanoff, no Kovacic, no De Bruyne, no Silva, no Foden. So clearly Pep had an eye on this weekend's derby in mind. So we're going into this in 13th place, of course. We are 3 points off Crystal Palace, who have a game in hand ahead of us. But we are 3 points again ahead of Spurs. So has Andrew been sacked yet? I haven't checked the news in a little bit. I was out running errands all morning, but has he been sacked? Because this is embarrassing. I saw some clips from his presser. The dude is he's unraveling, man. He's starting to feel it. I knew, and I believe I said it on the channel way back when Ange was talking all this bullshit about, I don't complain about stuff like other managers and stuff. And he's doing it. Now he's complaining. Now he's questioning things. And I said that he would change his tune, and he did. But it is what it is. Slash says, imagine cheating 115 times to finish fifth. Yeah, I mean, this is why when people we'll see you'll hear City fans will say, well, everybody cheats. I'm like, well, if we're cheating, then we're the worst at it, because there's no way we can cheat and still be shit and still not make money and stuff. So, but we're not doing great. So 2 wins, 1 loss, and 2 draws in our last 5 in all comp. But we do have big wins against Sociedad and Leicester. Again, everybody beats Leicester, though. But again, like I said, following the Forest match, the international break completely threw off our rhythm, killed our momentum. Everybody was shit against Forest. Literally cannot think of a standout player, maybe aside from Dallo. But Dallo was only good in the middle third of the pitch. Just getting the ball from his half into the final third. But then after that, none of his crosses were accurate or anything. And he's never improved on that. We've struggled to finish our chances, which is killing us at the moment. We have just player form is just up and down again. We're relying on so many youngsters. We're relying on Bruno to pretty much do everything. And it's not great. Again, against Forest, guys like Dorgu, even Bruno, Garnacho, they had stinkers. They had absolute nightmare games. And we can't have that. But again, for some reason, it's these big matches against big opposition that some of these players show up for. So this is why I said it could go either way. Rob says EPL should announce the 115 decision 2 hours before kickoff, relegated on Derby Day. Dude, how great would that be? I would just bricked up. I don't even care. I wouldn't even watch the game. I would just grab the first flight to Manchester, and I would just get absolutely hammered ass annihilated outside the Etihad, wearing full kit, everything, and just start singing every United song I could think of off the top of my head. Oh, that would be great. I'll buy the beer. Somebody bring the barbecue. Let's do it right. So City are probably hyped up because Jack Grealish finally scored a goal for the first time in 7 years. So there's that. Seriously, the radio silence from the media on the flop that Jack Grealish has been is infuriating. It's not surprising, but it's still just infuriating. But they spend the whole season slating Rasmus Højlund, so it is what it is. But it's City's youngsters and their new signings that have been key for them recently. Guys like O'Reilly and McAteer have been flourishing. Obviously, Marmoush has come in and doing very, very, very well. A lot of their senior players are looking a little past it. Obviously, De Bruyne is going to be leaving. He probably should have thought about that. Silva is getting a little older. Kovacic, they brought back Gundogan for some reason, and then a lot of their players are injured in the back. So they are struggling a bit. So we do need to watch out for the players that they have that are in form, though, personally. Like Arsenal, look for them, just control that ball, move it around, try to work it up the pitch a little bit, get numbers forward. But this is where we can get them. Look out for Guardiola. He's shit defensively, but he does manage to pop up in the box a lot. Grealish can probably draw a lot of free kicks because that's just all he's good for these days. But we do need to watch out for these crosses. They do like to put these balls in the back post. They do like to put balls in different depths in the box, and they got a lot of runners that like to come in and get on the end of those. So we do need to watch out for that. Normally, I'd ask my keeper to do better with these crosses, but Nonana's so bad at it. I just gave up on that a long time ago with him. He's never going to do any better with that, so why even bother? As far as what we need to do tactically is, honestly, it starts off, as long as I don't see us putting Maguire in the box as a 9 and trying to just hoof it to him to get his head on it, we're heading in the right direction, because that was so infuriating to watch against Forest. What I need to see from Amorim, so I know that he has his system. I know he doesn't like the make yourself hard to break down in quick transition from deep positions, but he needs to learn, for me, that you can work hard to implement a system overall, but there are going to be these one-off matches where you're going to need to suck it up and do what's necessary to maybe put yourself in the best position to get a result against some teams. And this is one of those times. In the weeks leading up to the international break, our compact defense, sometimes sitting in that back five and looking to hit other teams on the break, that system, that quick transition system, was working very, very well. And you have to do that against Man City, just like you have to do it against Spurs or even Liverpool. That's the way you do it to these high pressure teams who put a lot of numbers forward and play a higher line. I know Amorim doesn't like it, but sometimes it's what's going to put you in the best position to win, especially right now with the injuries and the shit players we have. It's just how you have to do it. Guardiola is shit at defending. We've benefited from that several times. You guys remember some of the goals that we've scored against City have been because of Guardiola being shit defensively, and he's done that a couple times. Garnacho has this dude's number. Ahmad's got these guys' number. Ahmad's not here, but we need to implement a system that uses the pace, that uses Bruno in a deeper position. This is exactly how Forest beat City recently, 1-0. And this is how Ollie pulled off a league double over Pep 5 years ago. Hit him on the break, exploit the space behind. So it's not rocket science. It really isn't. But this is how you get the best of City. Ahead of this one, team news. There's a small chance that Kabi Manu could make the bench. Amorim said that in his press conference. Sorry. Allergy season is rough. My throat is constantly itchy and dry. Amorim did say, though, that De Ligt might have picked up a small issue against Forest, so we'll see what happens there. Doesn't sound serious, but maybe just a little bit of pain. The press conference is interesting. Amorim made yet another remark about how many interviews he has to give at United. I told you, he's not used to this. He doesn't necessarily like it. It did seem a little bit like the constant scrutiny is starting to frustrate him a little bit. I got a little bit of a tinge of that in his responses. But he kind of made a remark like, here the pressure is a lot different here. I've got to give 3 interviews before every game. So it's like, this is like the 3rd or 4th time he's said something like that. I don't think he likes it. Yes, he is a personable guy. Yes, he is a good speaker, but at the same time, he going from even Sporting to United, the difference in the pressure, the scrutiny, the coverage, the interviews, and all this PR stuff you've got to do is couldn't be more different. And I wouldn't like it if I was a manager. I'm just not the kind of person who likes that. I say as I sit in front of a camera every day, but it's not fun. If you guys ever watch like Ted Lasso, when Roy Kent takes over the pressers later on in the last season, that's kind of how I would be, which probably means I wouldn't get to do a whole lot of them, or I'd just have to bring a blank checkbook because I would have to write and pay a lot of fines, but it is what it is. He was asked about Garnacho's form, And he did praise Garnacho's defensive efforts in recent weeks, but he also admitted that, yeah, Garnacho's not doing well. But just like he said about Hoyland earlier in the season, basically he said the team is not doing well, and the team has to do better to help Garnacho score. He said the same thing about Hoyland. And I agree with that. The whole team is sucking right now. Garnacho's in poor run of form. He's running out of time for me, Garnacho, to show that he can kind of find the next level, that he can work on the things that he's not great at, work on the things he still needs to work on, and still maintain some of the things that are strengths. But he's just not, like, 7 shots, none on target, like what, 6, 7 crosses, none on target for a winger. That's just not good enough. It's not good enough. You can't do that, man. That's not good enough at all. But we'll see. Little interesting tidbit on Garnacho, though. So again, this is coming from Chris Wheeler, so take it with a grain of salt. But he did claim today, and this is why I say it's hard to, some things, even if they come from Samuel Butthurst, you can't just lie. So Chris Wheeler can't just lie about something like this. But apparently Garnacho has put his mansion up for sale. So perhaps that is a little bit of an indication of something to happen in the summer. But interesting stuff. I don't know where Garnacho lives, so I don't know. But a journal can't just come out and say that. That's not cool. So, that's what makes me think there's probably some factual basis to it. But how would you guys want to see us line up for this one? So we know how we need to play. We need to make ourselves hard to break down, just like Forest did. We need to exploit the space in behind and the shit defending in behind, and their injuries City have, with players like Garnacho who can get on the ball, guys like Hoyland who can get on the ball. Maybe that was the point. Maybe we were resting Hoyland a little bit. I don't know, against Forest, but I would love if Bayindir could start, because I know he was on the bench against Forest, but I don't think Amorim is going to do that. I don't want to see Xerxes in the number 9 again. I think that was just a foolish decision. Put him back in the 10, put Bruno back in the pivot. Again, they were both doing well there. I don't see the need to tinker with that. It's just not necessary. If it were any other side aside from City, I probably would start someone else in that 10 role over Garnacho. But again, like I said, his pace is what we need right now, so we just have to utilize it. And we don't have really a ton of options anyway, so it is what it is. If Kone's on the bench again, I would love us to be in a position where he can get some minutes, maybe use his energy and his pace and his ability on the ball to kind of frustrate City a little bit. He's very good at maintaining possession and ball progression with the ball at his feet, Kone, if you guys have watched any of the youngsters play. But Amorim has given minutes to Cheeto and Harry Amas, so we'll see what happens. He could give some Kone minutes here or there. We'll see. I'm cautiously optimistic about this. Again, let me know how you guys line up. Let me know your score predictions too. So I don't know why, but I have a feeling this one's going to go 2-2. 2-all. I don't have any basis for that. It's not like I'm sitting down crunching numbers. I don't know what you guys think, but I have that feeling it's going to go 2-all. I think that Forest was a blip for a lot of these players like Bruno, for instance, and Dorgu. I think that Bruno, sometimes he's just going to have an off game. It is what it is. I think he'll bounce right back. I do think he'll probably get back on the score sheet. But I do think that we will struggle at times. I think that we've seen that we do kind of struggle with pacey, tricky wingers in those channels. So if Grealish is starting, I think Mizraoui could have a rough time. But we'll see. Doku, I don't know. Did Doku play recently? I can't remember off the top of my head. But I'm calling 2-all. I think it's going to be a bit of a handshake at the end. I would love for us to do the double over City and have a little bit of that bonus going into, I think we got Europa League on Thursday. That would be a great little momentum kicker, but it is what it is. But let me know your starting 11. Let me know your score predictions, and all that jazz. And if you want to get really hyped before it, you can go back and watch my match reaction from December's Manchester Derby if you want to hear me sing Fraudiola, the Red-Nosed Gaffer again, because that was a fun song. Hopefully we get to sing it again. But in any case, that is going to do it for me today. Again, get your thoughts and predictions in if you weren't able to catch the live. Please like the video on your way out. Please subscribe to the channel if you are new. Hit that bell, share the videos, check out the memberships. You guys know the drill. Until next time, take it easy. Enjoy the rest of your Friday, and hopefully we will be talking about a win. And go check out episode 2 of What If. I forgot about that again. That one dropped earlier this morning. What if we had signed Fergie's number one choice, Ronaldinho, instead of a young Cristiano Ronaldo back in the summer of 2003? So I had a lot of fun doing that. Keep a lookout for more of those what ifs. And if you want to learn how you can get involved in those what ifs, check the memberships, you guys. So thank you, Rob. Thank you, RSVs. Thank you, Slash, for stopping by today. I appreciate everyone getting involved. And I will see you guys on the next one. Later.